So why did we choose a fifth wheel RV over a Class A or a travel trailer or any other type of RV for us to live in full time? Well, we knew that we wanted plenty of space. And when you look at the different types of RVs, you have like the teardrop campers, the pop-ups, and the truck bed campers. Those are really small. Then you get a little more space when you go to like a Class B van or a Class C bus. But then the biggest units are going to be the travel trailers, the fifth wheels, and the Class A's. So why do we need so much space if we're just a couple with no children and no pets? Well, when I sat down and think about it, there are probably about 4 reasons for that. Number 1 is we were in the middle of growing and scaling our digital marketing agency, and that required sometimes 7 days a week, 12, 14-hour days, and we felt it would be very important for us to have a separate office space for us to disconnect and separate work time from playtime. Because if you don't do that, you go a little insane, everything blurs together, and it's just not a healthy lifestyle. So we knew that was important, a separate office space. Number 2, we were complete RV newbies. We had no idea how long a tank of water would last us or how much electricity and power reserves we would need to run the business and just our life in general. And then also, I needed plenty of extra space for carrying tools and things like that. I would hate to run into a need for something on the road and not have it. So because we were newbies, we wanted plenty of resource capacity. That includes the large water tanks and wastewater tanks. That would include a room for a generator, extra house batteries, maybe solar panels, inverter converter to use batteries to power all of our AC items. And then plenty of extra space to bring with me as many tools as I thought was necessary to handle any issue that might pop up on the road. So number 2, plenty of resource capacity. Number 3, we knew that we wanted a space for a washer and dryer. And that might not sound like a big deal to some people who haven't spent countless hours in sketchy laundromats over the years, but we have, and we know we don't like that, so a washer and dryer were a necessity and preference for us. So that was number 3. And number 4, I'm 6'3", and I didn't want to be banging my elbows on the wall walking to the bedroom or breaking my back just to rinse my hair off in the shower. So we just wanted plenty of livable space for a giant human body. So that's number 4, plenty of room. So with all of that, it boiled down to we needed a big rig. And so that immediately eliminated everything other than a travel trailer, a fifth wheel, or a Class A. So in order to narrow things down even further, we started looking at those 3 types of units at some of our local dealerships. And one of the first things that we noticed when we went in person is that the fifth wheels had definite advantages over the travel trailers. The fifth wheels had higher ceilings, so they felt a lot more spacious and a lot more residential. They also had deeper bellies, which just meant they had more room for resources in general. So larger water tanks, a lot more room for adding a bigger generator or extra house batteries and things like that. And then a lot more storage space in the belly for tools and any other things you'd like to bring along with you on the road, just to stay prepared. So that right there was a big benefit for us as well. And then number 3, if you look at the way a fifth wheel is towed versus a travel trailer, the fifth wheel comes over the bed of the truck a little bit, which reduces the overall length of the truck and the RV combined. Whereas a travel trailer hitches directly to the rear bumper of the truck, so you have the full length of the RV plus the full length of the truck. So for the same length RV, the fifth wheel would be a shorter overall RV truck combination. So that was just another benefit. So taking all of that into account, at that point we felt that we could safely eliminate travel trailers from our considerations. So we were then left choosing between a fifth wheel and a Class A. So with the Class A's, we really liked the idea of an easier setup. You could just pull into your spot, hit the auto level button from inside the rig, extend your slides, and then theoretically you're done, especially if you're boondocking out in the middle of nowhere using your own resources and you don't have to connect to the campground. Whereas with a fifth wheel, you would have to get out of the truck regardless of the weather, unhitch the unit, then you could level and extend slides and things like that. So we really thought that was an awesome benefit that the Class A had. But when we really started to think about it, that would only apply if you didn't have a toad that you were pulling behind the Class A, which is like a daily driver, a car, an SUV. And I feel like that's a necessity with a Class A, especially if you're living full time, because it's what you're going to use to explore the city that you're in, to grab groceries, grab lunch, go explore different attractions. You can't do that with the Class A because it's just too large to drive around a city. So if you're going to have a toad anyway, you're going to be hitching and unhitching that. So whether it's a fifth wheel or a Class A, you'll be hitching and unhitching something. So with that potential benefit eliminated, that just left us with the three concerns that we had about Class A's that we didn't necessarily have with the fifth wheels. Number one, when walking through both types of units, we noticed that the windows in a Class A are somewhat lower than the windows in a fifth wheel. So walking through a fifth wheel, everything's at eye level and you can just kind of look out, and it kind of feels more residential. In the Class A, you kind of have to lean down to look out the window, or you need to be seated to just relax and enjoy the view. So we really like that about the fifth wheels, the residential style windows. Number two, if you think about a Class A, it's essentially a house and a vehicle combined into one unit. So on top of all of the house things that may go wrong with an RV, that will probably go wrong with most RVs, you're also adding in that engine component. So transmissions, pumps, belts, whatever, pulleys, all of these things have a potential to break down, and if it requires shop time, your entire home is going to the shop. Whereas with a fifth wheel, if you have a mechanical breakdown with your truck, you just send the truck to the shop and you still have your home. So I just felt like, why not take all the potential points of failure and split them into two separate groups to double your chances of not having a failure that would cause your entire setup to go down all at once. And sure, you can have a mechanical breakdown on a fifth wheel. You have your suspension, your brakes, your frame, things like that. But I just felt like having much less points of potential failure would increase our chances of not having to send our entire home into the shop. Murphy's Law, what can happen will happen, so why not double your chances, right? So that was another thing that we were considering as a benefit for fifth wheel over Class A. And then there were other things to consider, like depreciation or upfront cost. There's a debate about whether a Class A depreciates faster than a fifth wheel combined with a truck or whatever, but those were not so much big deciding factors for us as much as they were potential bonuses. We weren't choosing to live full-time in an RV because it was the most financially sound decision. We were doing it for the freedom and the ability to roam and explore. So if there was any potential financial advantages from going with a fifth wheel over a Class A, those were just bonuses and not big deciding factors. So with all of that considered, we knew at this point that we were leaning heavily towards the fifth wheels. So knowing that we were leaning towards fifth wheels, we started walking through more and more of them at the dealerships, and we really just started to imagine what it would be like to live in each of the different layouts on a day-to-day basis. We'd go in for a few minutes, sit down, look around, soak it all in, and we were looking for that very functional office space. So we would imagine, where would we put our computers in here? Is there even enough room to accomplish what we're going for? And while we noticed that most fifth wheels were split into two separate livable areas, one being the open concept living room, kitchen, dining room, and the other side being the bedroom and bathroom, we noticed that some fifth wheels were split into three different living areas, and these were called Toyhaulers, which we had never heard of before looking at all these different units. These actually had garages in the back with ramp doors that would fold down and allow you to load side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, any type of toy. But not only were they garages, they were also livable spaces. So people would use them as, additional dining areas, secondary bedrooms, things like that. And we were looking at them and we were like, wow, these could be awesome separate offices.
plenty of open space. We could imagine modifying it to fit our needs perfectly. So these really became the center of our attention, and we started searching for toy haulers specifically. We go to different dealerships, we drive a few hours this way and that way, and we would just walk through as many different varieties of toy haulers as we could, and these began to become what we thought was going to be perfect for us. So at that point, we just started watching a ton of YouTube videos. We started gathering a bunch of different people's perspectives, their experiences, their regrets, and that's when we found Changing Lanes RV with Chad and Tara. They literally had a fifth wheel toy hauler, and they had converted the garage into a his and hers office space. They also had everything else that we were looking for. They had a king bed, a washer and dryer. They had the big generator, a bunch of extra house batteries, and they had plenty of space in the belly for all the tools that you would ever need out on the road. And after watching through a few of their videos, I knew at that point that we were probably going to go with the fifth wheel toy hauler. So huge shout out to Chad and Tara for literally providing a foundational proof of concept for us to feel comfortable going all in on a full-blown traveling home and office. So knowing what RV we wanted gave us a centerpiece for designing the rest of the setup around. So we knew at this point we needed a tow vehicle or a truck to pull the RV, and then we had to decide, do we want the truck to be our daily driver, or are we trying to fit something in the garage that can be our daily driver? That's where things got a little bit interesting, so I'm going to end this video here.